and not just luxuries and more things. Like that's kind of a douchey way I put it.
Yeah.
I mean humility in ways I never knew I would have had to apply. Like, go figure. I gotta like be humble about this now and like change my attitude about this. And you know, that's a lesson too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, where you were too prideful, you need to have humility, and where you thought that you were all humble, turns out your humble's a false humility. So you need to be honest about what you're proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Like every unpredictable aspect you can think of, that's where thou willst be challenged.
Have you guys ever heard of channeling?
Nope.
Have you ever channeled?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, these are people who are getting, I guess, like telepathic messages sent from them from like beings elsewhere. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's real, but I do find it fascinating sometimes to listen to these people because they say interesting things.
It's like an information download from another other dimensional being.
Yeah. So actually, back in the 80s, there was this channeler who wrote down the message that they were getting from this being called Ra,
like the Egyptian Ra.
Apparently they tried to they first went to the Egyptians, but they were too primitive, so they let them do their thing, and then now they came back in the 80s to talk to this person. So
this person?
Yeah. I forget the person's name. It's not important here because we can learn about that later. What's interesting and what I want to get from this is that the message that is being talked about or channeled through this person is about how consciousness evolves, which doesn't get tackled very often. We usually think of consciousness as brainwaves in the brain.
Yeah.
And not everybody thinks the same way about consciousness like that.
Right.
I think there's something more to it beyond just the physical.
Yeah.
And so this kind of taps into it. This is a clip that I'm going to show you from an Aaron Abke video where he's going through the first stages of how consciousness evolves. And I'm just going to go through the first 3 steps for you guys. And if you like it, hit a like, make a comment, and tell me if you want to hear the rest. And we'll do the following ones. I just thought this one was kind of interesting to tickle the mind, tickle the brain, and get you thinking maybe a little outside of the box. So this comes from the book of a book called The Law of One, which is excerpts from Ra speaking through a channeler. Okay, so that's where this is coming from. So
the first density is that of beingness or awareness and is associated with the red ray or root chakra energy center and the atomic body.
Getting all hippie.
This includes all organic matter, which are the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and air. As the sun condensed into our star and planets began to form, the earth spent billions of years in a timeless state of being. After a few billion years of rock, magma, water, and air interacting with one another, the friction of this interaction eventually began to evolve consciousness.
So there, he says it's evolving its consciousness, which is really weird because you don't think of fire, water, and elements being conscious.
Right.
But I guess that's what this is saying that it is. Maybe some low form of consciousness that is just aware of its being. It just exists.
Does that apply to rocks?
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
Kind of brings a new way of thinking about pet rocks.
Yeah. Watch the blades of grass that you step on.
Into the second density, which is the density of growth and movement and is associated with the orange ray sacral chakra and chemical body. The second density includes all biological life and organic matter that has autonomous movement, all the way down from microbial life up to plants and animals. In this density, consciousness becomes aware of different portions of itself communicating with one another. And through this communication, a second stage is reached where consciousness has learned the lessons of beingness and can now begin to respond to its environment through this newly learned awareness. So as it begins to generate a realization of space and time, consciousness takes on a new vehicle of exploration. The latest stage of second density would be animals who become pets, And through their interactions with humans, such as being given a name, boundaries, and affection, the animal begins to develop a sense of self-awareness which allows consciousness to begin evolving into the third density.
I think a lot of people could get on board with animals being conscious.
Yeah,
right?
To some
On
degree.
some
But
level, right?
I was actually just thinking about part of what makes dogs cute is like how dumb they are. You know, like I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I don't mean animals are dumb, but it's like they're like, you know, like they're not like humans, right?
Yeah.
I think some people like love animals for the fact that they are not humans. Like this thing's not going to judge me.
Dogs are amazing. Dogs are so forgiving, man.
Let's not go on a dog tangent here.
Okay,
but,
whatever.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, animals in general. Like animals show interesting characteristics.
Yeah.
They'll like come up and like hug you, nestle into you.
Yeah.
Which is like
something going on there.
Yeah, I've seen like a dog again, but I've seen like a dog cry before. Like so, it's interesting, and I think it's not too far-fetched to believe that animals could be conscious, not the way necessarily that humans are.
Yeah.
But that there's something there.
Right.
And maybe given enough time with an animal, maybe if humans actually like lived with an animal long enough, you might be surprised at what might come out of that. Anyway.
Density. Third density is that of self-awareness and the choice. It is associated with the yellow ray or solar plexus chakra and also chemical body. The third density is where each and every one of us find ourselves right now and is actually the shortest and most intense of all the 7 density levels in terms of incarnation cycles. This is because of 2 major factors: the introduction of polarity and what Ra calls the veil of forgetting. The veiling process occurs in third density to shroud each entity's memory from their previous incarnations, so that there is no awareness that the soul is on an evolutionary journey. This allows each entity to make a completely authentic choice between the positive and negative polarities. The catalyst for evolution in third density is psychological suffering. And this is why the third density is so difficult in comparison to all the others. Suffering forces consciousness to gain freedom from the ego, which was built through the second density. And this allows the entity to eventually become truly autonomous and possess free will. Catalyst in third density is very high because both polarities must be presented in equal proportion. The formation of the ego creates a sense that the entity is separate from everyone and everything, which initially creates a barbaric and hostile behavior at the beginning of third density. This is exactly what we've witnessed in our own human history. But as thousands of years go by and many incarnations are experienced,
That's crazy, because like some of what he's saying there, I'm sure like by this point, you like your bullshit meter is going like, you know, it's starting to come like, yeah, prove it to me, give me the double-blind placebo test and show me how true this all is. But it's not like, I think there are some things that are being said, like as you watch how things grow and evolve, that there's something there, that there's something interesting. Like we were more barbaric in the beginning, you know, and we're slowly trying to like get out of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So there is seems like some type of a consciousness evolutionary course taking place.
I do think that there is like, I agree that there's an evolutionary type thing happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes it's like a trick people develop where it's like, I assume that it's a trick people develop where they can make almost anything sound compelling. Like, you know, tell me, oh wise master, what life is like. And they're like, life is like a shirt. As in you know, you wear it, but you have to take care of it or it will get, fall apart. Like, it can take anything and with clever wordplay make it seem legit.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean you need to disregard it? How about you look at the fact that that's possible and wonder on that? Maybe everything's like everything. Maybe let me listen more. See what it says, you know?
Yeah. All right then.
the soul learns the lessons of love and understanding and begins to remember that it actually is an eternal being having a temporary physical experience. At this point, the choice between the two polarities is made. If an entity decides that it prefers the negative polarity, then it begins its evolutionary journey on the service to self path. If it chooses the positive polarity, it begins its journey on the service to others path. So everything about the soul's evolutionary journey hinges around this choice point in the third density that we experience right now.
That's the hardest part I think, with this, is that, of course, the point that we're in now, the thing that we're doing now is like the key, most important thing. Like that seems like always the crux of it, that there's like some giant obstacle within your peripheral to be able to see this truth that he's talking about right now. And that's like, we're in that stage right now. Everyone's going through it right now. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest part, because it's, which I think, I don't know, that's the part that kind of gets me questioning this, where this is going.
Okay.
But
all right.
I don't know. And I think he's labeled it. I don't know if he's labeled it yet, but well, I'll let it play and we'll see.
The following 4th through 7th densities are spent exploring, learning, and enhancing the chosen polarity. So we can summarize the first 3 densities by saying that consciousness sleeps in the rock, it dreams in the animal, and it awakens in the human.
One thing, I don't know if this has anything, why this popped into my chaotic brain, but let me know if it's got anything to do with what he just said. You know, you notice like in video games, with most games, as you go along and progress through the game, the challenge level increases.
Yeah.
And that seems to be, I think that like reflects life, or even maybe like a movie script, like there's a first act, a second act, a third, like there seems to be this idea of things getting more and more challenging, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, I think he talked about like choice and the idea of suffering and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you might figure that somebody would be like, well then fine, like I get it. This is a lesson I'm supposed to be learning. Give me the hardest path possible, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not how progressive intensity and challenge works, in my opinion. It's like, well then whatever you weren't anticipating will be thine challenge, you know? Like, which is bothers me, if I'm going to be quite honest.
Yeah.
It's like you can't pick a thing where it's like, well then I'll just do this. It's like you're missing the point. You have you ever done yoga before? You rest more and more into the uncomfortable, into the like it's like, oh, you think you stretched further, eh? Little further, like I'm gonna snap. Like it's more.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just an interesting thing with this and consciousness and how it develops, and you know, you think of a crab outgrowing its shell, or the pressure that comes along with, you know, something moving through the next harder thing.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, as I get older, there's lots of luxuries I enjoy as I get older, but it's getting harder.
Yeah.
It's like you got more people you love, more responsibility. It's like this thing, I don't know how much more like love and terror and all these things I can handle. You know, let me you people let me know.
And I guess you can't gather it, because he says that like you reincarnate and you go through it many times to like learn all the lessons you need to learn. And he was saying that kind of stems out of second density, learning now how to like manage this consciousness and all that stuff, which is,
and not just luxuries and more things. Like that's kind of a douchey way I put it.
Yeah.
I mean humility in ways I never knew I would have had to apply. Like, go figure. I gotta like be humble about this now and like change my attitude about this, and you know, that's a lesson too. Yeah. Like, oh, where you were too prideful, you need to have humility, and where you thought that you were all humble, turns out your humble's a false humility. So you need to be honest about what you're proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Like every unpredictable aspect you can think of, that's where thou willst be challenged. You know, it's like, I don't want to freak anybody out too much. Relax. I'm just saying, if anyone feels that way, hey, I'm with you. This thing is getting complex.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely feel the weight of the, you know, reality, survival, trying to make sense of everything. It can be, you know, overwhelming.
Yeah, all of humanity's going like this, and it's getting cozy. And we're all getting forced into each other's lives with the metaverse.
Oh,
and
hopefully we'll explode into something beautiful.
yeah. Maybe we are at the choice point.
Yeah.
Go figure. This is the reality we were born into, right at the crux.
Yeah. And so that's just the first three. Like, if you can't get past the first three, the next four are going to blow your socks off.
Whoa.
So if you want to hear the next four, write in the comments, say, yeah, we want to hear the number 4, and let us know what you think about this. Is it complete bananas, or do you find anything relevant here that you can actually use? But anyway, guys, hope you liked this episode. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend, and everybody, until next time, stay spiritual.